Well, it's tough to sit down with anybody who's faced a tragedy like you have and try to get the full effect of their message. We all take things like that differently. But you went to Bridal Veil Falls one day with your son, and only you came back. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. Um, it was actually my wife and my daughter-in-law, my son Sean, who's 30, was 30, and um, his, his in-laws from China. And we were at the restaurant, and he was trying to impress them on something in Utah. And he said, "Dad, where could we go?" I said, "Well, we can go to Squaw Peak Trail, or we can go to Bridal Falls." It was Memorial Day weekend, and so I was trying to think of some place that wasn't too crowded or accessible. And so we got there, and I don't know if it was Providence or what, but the water was so noisy. I'd never heard it so loud. And my boy said, "Dad, you know this is the dangerous." He either said it's the 30th dangerous days or the 100 dangerous days of summer, start of Memorial Day. And he said it 2 or 3 times to me. And my son has no fear, so to me it was very strange. And then it was so crowded that everybody was looking at the falls, and I said, "Sean, let's look this way and look at the mountains, just to be different or whatever." And that's when we noticed London and Brenda. Brenda is the mother, London's 4-year-old child, and they were right down by the water. And we both said, "Oh my gosh, what the heck are they doing by the water? You know, we got to help them, get them away from there." We looked around for a ranger or somebody to talk to them. And in that split second, London went in the water, and then I myself or other people started screaming, "Child in the water," and I just bolted, and my son Sean was behind me. I knew to go ahead of him and try to put a stick or something into the water and grab him, or at least call 911. I didn't even have my phone with me, so I grabbed somebody else's phone as I was running down the trail. And by the time I got to a stopping point, I saw someone in a white t-shirt floating by, and I thought that was the 4-year-old's father, because he went in the water too. His name is Benny Razzo, and I want people to know, is a hero too, because he tried to save his wife and his child, and he came out alive, but he almost died too, because I saw him tumbling. I saw my son thinking it was him. And so my wife said, "Sean's in the water." I said, "No, he's not. He was right there behind me, you know." And then somebody gave me his keys or something, and then I just totally went into panic mode, because it was my child now, not just this other child, which shouldn't matter, but it's still.
Yeah.
So I ran ahead and found a police officer. By the time, I mean, everything happened so quickly. There was a police officer in a vehicle, and we have this program called Live 360. It's an app, so you can keep track of where everybody's at.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell him that if he could just download that app, then we could find my boy. And he finally got it figured out, and we downloaded the app, and he said, "I'm sorry, sir, but that's back where he went in the water. So his phone is still up in the river somewhere up there, you know." And so we got in the car and we tried to get down the mountain, but they blocked off all of Provo Canyon because of this emergency. There was helicopters and all kinds of crap. And by the time we got down there, they said that they'd pulled 2 people out of the water, and one of them was a man. And so I was like, oh, relief. My boy's going to just have hypothermia. And by the time we got to the hospital, I was just running through the hospital. It was under construction, and I finally found them, and they said, wait, you got to identify him. And I said, identify him? And he was unconscious, and they were doing CPR. I was a medic in the Air Force, and I'd done CPR on patients and stuff. But watching your son have CPR done to him it's like, this is not happening. This is not my boy. This is somebody else's life, you know. But it was my boy, and he was alive, he was dead, he was alive, he was dead, and my wife and my wife and all my family, all my kids. I just told her, don't tell them why, just tell them to come now. And that's how good my family is. They just came, all the brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And the doctor was begging me to let him go because he said he's brain dead. His heart is beating, and from my day and age, we shock people's hearts.
Sure.
And so I said, can we do that? And he kept saying, no, it's not that kind of heart problem. And he was begging me to stop, and I was begging him to shock him, and it just went back and forth. And finally, he said, you realize your son is brain dead. This is not going anywhere productive. All you're doing is causing more problem. And so I said, okay, call it. And ever since then, the last 2 years have been very. You've lost a child or two, so you told me.
Nothing like
I think that might have been why I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think if you haven't lost a child, I don't think it makes a difference, or how they died. But if it's your child, it makes a huge difference.
People have referred to Sean as a hero. Obviously, he was. Was he this type of guy that would act on a moment's notice like that, or had you really ever thought about it? Of what type of person he is in a situation like that before he did that? Obviously, somebody who cares a lot.
Yeah. He's always been, even as a young man, he was more like my moral compass. I don't know how this works, but my father used to identify with my brother as the father figure, and my son was kind of like that too. Sean was the type of person that just always knew right from wrong, and he acted on it. He didn't hesitate, he just did it.
Yeah.
And so I think but I wish to God I would have told him not to jump in the water. But I think it's that aquatic victim instead of rescuer thing where, I mean, we're both, but I'd been in enough emergencies.
That's what I was going to say. I thought maybe you would have jumped in, having the background that you had.
Oh, he was an excellent swimmer.
But you may have had a little more common sense about it. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, when you're in emergencies over and over and over, you learn just to slow down and let it process it. And he didn't have that. He didn't have that background, and he didn't. Nobody. All the other 5 people that jumped in, they didn't know either. All we knew is that there was 2 people in the water, and they were a child and a woman, and
who they are, who you should go after first, or anything. It happens too quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was just so fast. The water though was frighteningly loud, and that's what the thing that bothers me the most is I've asked the county commissioner of Bill Lee if they could lower the water on holidays, because that's when 90% of the people are up there, and he said, well, we'll have to deal with this committee and this and this and this, and he wanted me.
The red tape.
And the other thing he wanted to do is he wanted to. I'm not gonna. I don't want to paint Bill as a bad guy, because he's a great guy. He's doing the best he can. He's got tons of stuff to do, and he did listen to me, and he is going to put a memorial plaque. Let me put a memorial plaque up there.
Yeah.
But it bothered me that there was no ropes up there. There was nothing to throw. And so even when I say the message, reach, row, throw, don't go, there's nothing to row with. There's nothing to throw. There's just don't go.
Yeah.
And so I've asked them to. I even bought $1,200 worth of ropes and life-saving equipment, and they said, no, we don't want it. And I said, what do you mean you don't want it? And they said, it's the wrong type. We need throw bags or whatever.
Oh,
and then, so I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll return that and buy that. And they said they don't have liability insurance for a rope in Provo Canyon. Can you imagine that? How can you not have liability insurance for a rope? To me, it just makes no sense.
Any person would have to if they live
So
there.
yeah, so I'm at the point now where I just want to go up there and hand them out, or
But yeah.
I know that doesn't make any sense, but
what is the toughest part you and your wife and your family
it's the
have had to live through since then, other than the obvious, losing a son and a brother and whatever, but there must be a lot of what ifs. What if this? What if that? If only they did, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the what ifs. I was going to ask you today actually how you did it or what you, because I relived that day over and over. Like, what if it would have been 5 minutes later? What if I would have said we should go there? And when I told people my what ifs, my daughter-in-law told me hers, and my wife said hers. So we all had this strange thought that we had any control over what happened that day. But it's so hard not to live in a what if. I would have done this, that wouldn't have happened. And so it's hard not to take responsibility for that. And I don't know, how do you get through what ifs? I would like to write a book on it, or have somebody tell me the answer. I more or less put it down there because I don't know how to do it.
Ask you.
Yeah, I was gonna.
There's you have to ask the question, I guess, but there really isn't an answer. It's just going from day to day. Certainly, you don't want it. People say, "Oh, just get over it," or forget. No, you don't forget that. That was a person close to me. You don't forget anything. You live with it daily. But I guess it's just learning how to deal with it. But okay, tell me how to deal with it.
Yeah,
it's really hard, and I don't know who has that answer.
How did you get over yours? Your first child?
I'm still not.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, it's been 12 years, and I'm not anywhere near over it.
Yeah, there is no getting over it, is there?
I think of her every day. I sometimes shed a tear when I think about her. Not all the time now, but sometimes it hurts. It was I don't mean to talk about me.
No, I want you to. I want you to want some information.
I lost a son that just lived 2 days when he was born in 1959. I just started in radio, and about just before. In fact, it was just before my daughter had my daughter. I was thinking of starting a book, and I thought I would start back when I married the first time and had a son and lost him, and just tell that story leading up to the beginning of my career. But I got to the part where Brian had only lived, I don't know, 48 hours or something, 40 hours, whatever it was. That part and how they presented him to me in this little coffin. And I put it in the back seat of my 1950 Chevrolet, and I drove 40 miles by myself from Delta, Colorado to Grand Junction, Colorado to bury him. And her parents were there, my parents were there, and that was it. She was still in the hospital. And by the time I described all that, after all that time, and thought about it, I broke down and I stopped, and I've never touched that part of the story. If I ever finish it again, I just have it to this day. So I don't know how you deal with it. Try writing it all down. It doesn't work either, because you just get to a point where you stop, I think. I can't think of this anymore right now. But that is what happens, and it's so hard to deal with, and so hard to deal with people asking you about it all the time. But you mentioned some of the things like lowering the water coming out of the canyons. I don't know what else. What else can we do up there? Maybe that will give people this message of stay back from these rivers, regardless. If you can swim, if you want a better view, just don't, because the ground can cave off, roll away. You can slip on the wet grass. So many things can happen, and you can't just dip a toe in there because something might grab you or a log might knock you and pull you in. You don't know.
Yeah.
But how do you get that message out there, besides lowering the flow?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big old rock with a memorial plaque on it that has a light shining through. It's called a lithophane, and it's like a porcelain type of. It looks just like a weird shape, and then if you put a light on it, then you see the actual photograph. Yeah. And I'm hoping that will bring people's attention to what is that weird thing over there.
Good idea.
But it will also be subdued with the rock, and so it's not intrusive to the nature. And there was a woman in Hawaii who lost some children, and she did something similar to that. It wasn't a lithophane; it was just a plaque. But the death rates slowed down because if people see the story and a name to it rather than just a picture, just a warning sign. And to Bill Lee's credit, the commissioner of Utah, one of the commissioners of Utah County, he volunteered to do that. And at the time, I thought that was ridiculous. I don't want a memorial. I want a warning sign to say, "Get the hell away from the water."
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I researched it, and he actually had a good idea, and so I credit him for helping me come up with actually following through that, because to me, it's this, I don't want. I know that my boy would be so pissed at me if he was a poster child for anything.
Yeah, you would. But I was thinking the same thing. How about a memorial to Sean there that said, you know, he died here.
Yeah.
Trying to save somebody in this rapid water.
Yeah.
It's pretty stark and all, but
well, the Dios family, Brenda De Dios and London Razo, the child.
Yeah.
Their family has been in contact with us. We've never actually met, but they've given me some photographs to put on there. And so all three of them are going to be, because it's their story. It's three of them entwined in this death, you know.
Yeah.
But if it can save a life, and also my son was cremated, and so I don't really have a place to go to.
Yeah.
And so it would be nice for me to go there. And I also wanted to say that I've been trying my, like, nothing else, to have something positive every Thanksgiving since that happened. And I think that if I look through his world at his time in his life, he was 30 years old, but he had a wife, his mother and father were still alive, all of his brothers and sisters were alive. So when he left the planet, his world was intact, which most of us don't have.
Yeah.
I get to live another 20, 30 years without my boy.
Yeah.
And that's how I came up with last Thanksgiving, trying to find something positive on it. I thought, well, he was 20 something, I was 20 something when he was born, so I apparently can live without him.
Yeah.
So now I got to live, but so I can do it again. So my father instilled upon me, and I instilled upon my kids, trying to always find a light in the darkness, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make something good come of this horrible disaster.
Have you got anybody in government, state legislature, city, county government on your side about it to kind of help you push something through lawmaking or whatever?
Not really. When I've met with them, it's always find a precedent for where there's a rope in another state, and then we'll put a rope in our state, or in you know. So they want me to do all the work that I think that they should. I mean, if I had a big park where it's like one of the second or third biggest attraction in Utah, Bridal Falls.
Yeah.
You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful place, and so there's lots of people. Why do they not have one person in charge of that entire area? Not one ranger, not one volunteer, not one human being. They have people that pick up the litter and do that, but that's it. So basically, they're running an amusement park without any control, and it bothers me.
Maybe a big sign above Bridal Veil that says, "Imagine you're at Niagara Falls and you slip in the water." That was a pretty good reminder. That's put it in perspective. But
I've wanted to protest, and when I saw you doing that protest and you said that was your first one, I thought, I'm not going to wait till I'm as old as you. I'm going to do it now because I have a cause. I mean, not saying that you had to deal with the news and everything, so. I don't have that restriction, so I'm just going to try to raise hell if they don't. I know that the people put pressure on government and government acts. So that's what this is all about, hopefully.
Yeah. But the big issue, the big deal with lawmaking and governing and handling a state is that, we beg for more people to come and visit, to come and live. And we don't take care of these necessary elements that a lot of people are unaware of. You come to Salt Lake and you breathe this terrible air. They go up to the canyons for the first time. Maybe they're from Missouri or Kansas or someplace. They've never seen anything like that. Yeah. And they don't know how dangerous, especially during the runoff, a stream or a river can be. Yeah. And they like to get as close as they can. And bam, it just happens that fast. And so, you know, I expect the government to take these matters a little bit more seriously than they do.
The problem that they told me is that Provo City has part of Bridalveil Falls, the Forest Forest Service has part of it, and one other entity, I forget which. So there's three governments in charge of this one area,
Okay.
and so basically they're saying, we don't want to do it. Ask them to do it. And I'm like, you're all the same freaking thing.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What clout do I have to talk to somebody when you're the commissioner or whatever? So I've gotten more help from media actually, and people like that. Jed Broll from KSL,
Yeah.
he did a story about water safety, and he is what caused Mark to be here. Did he leave?
He had some news.
Oh, anyways, and you and people like you are more helping me more than the government right now. Government
And it helps, you know, and we're glad to do it. You need something constantly on there bombing away at somebody about to get the message effectively across to everybody one time, and not everybody sees it. But that's it. You're making a difference. Know that you're making a difference, and hopefully you can build a little army with you to move ahead with some of the things you might think of and come across. Obviously, you're more aware of it now, and when you're back at those particular sites, you're probably warning people to stay away.
Yeah, the thing that bothers me right now really bad is that they allow people to crawl up the falls. Yeah. I've got video of little 2-3-year-olds crawling up there, and their parents are. I mean, I was young parent too, and I let my kids do some stupid things.
Yeah.
My kids could have fallen in the water just as easy as anybody. I mean, every parent's had that one moment where they're not in control of their child and something happens. That just happened to be more severe.
And one of your kids waited till he was a young man and tried to help somebody else, and ended his life.
People are amazed that we didn't even know them. Yeah. They're Latino. We didn't. I mean, that's part of the problem I've had is in communicating with them and they've lost 2 people. I only lost one. They lost the mother and the child, and the Dios family. I can't imagine what they're going through. I mean,
do you speak to them still often, or?
Thayne and her husband, starts with a J. I've only talked to them a couple times. They're pretty private and they're hurting still, and so I don't blame them for not talking about it, because all they're doing is trying to lick their wounds and get on with life.
Okay, tell me again quickly a little bit about Dana Gage, Troy.
Dana Gage is a friend of mine now, and she's in charge of Families United to Prevent Drowning. And she's picked up the torch for her son, kind of like I have for my boy. And it's nice to have somebody who's been at least somewhere near your shoes, even if they've not been in your shoes, like you are to me. And because you need somebody that has that passion and drive because of the event. And anyway, she's a good friend now. Just
what happened to her son?
Her son Connor drowned out in the ocean, I think, and if I remember right, it took a few days to find his body, which I can't even imagine. 4-year-old London, the one that drowned with my boy, they had to lower the water, and then the next morning or day they found her under a log with my boy's wallet or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really feel for other people who've lost.
Yeah.
The difference between a planned, there is no really planned death, but when it's when it's a tragedy that happens, like a car wreck or whatever, I used to watch you on the news, in fact, and I would just, oh, somebody died. Now I watch the news, and it's like, I hear myself even speaking out loud, oh my God, that poor family. Because now it's not, I am in the news. My life has changed because of it. And so now when I watch the news, it's home more. it's real.
Everybody's
It's not
story.
just pretend. It's real. Yeah.
There's a little bit of yours, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
go Dana and what she does. That's great. A pat on the back.
I want people to know a couple of things. I want three things. I want them to know to reach, row, throw, do not go when somebody's in the white water. If it's a swimming pool or something else, sure, you can jump in and help them. But if it's white water, get ahead of them, put something in. And the other thing is I want people to know about AVIR, aquatic victim instead of rescuer, because it's a syndrome, which means it's a bunch of things that happen to create a cause, and the cause was my son dying because he had aquatic victim instead of rescuer syndrome because he acted when he should have pulled back. And Quincy Jones, my boy's boss, did another video that we're going to attach to this video, saying reach, roll, throw, don't go. And I'm hoping that reach, roll, throw, don't go will get some momentum, you know. If I can get some other famous people to say reach, roll, throw, don't go, or something, I don't know. And then the last thing is just to watch your kids and to cherish them around water, especially. Don't just have one person watching 10 kids. That ain't gonna work because kids go everywhere, especially when they're little.
Yeah.
And London was only 4 when she fell in. And to me, that's the worst thing is thinking about what my son would be doing right now and what her child would be doing, what Brenda would be doing. It's just a loss of potential, I guess, is what kills me. Is my boy he was my oldest boy, so he knew me best. We grew up together practically because I was 20 when I had him. And so I want people to be careful around water.
Well, you're part of the world who's lost a child, and there's not enough you can say to warn others to be careful and, like you say, enjoy every minute with them. You don't know, but you're more alert now. We all are from that kind of loss.
Yeah.
Mine was my daughter was from prescribed drugs, which is also a big problem, and one that we try like hell to stop, but doesn't seem to take a dent out of anything. And it's hard to get past it because it's a problem that can be handled. Something can be done. It could just stop. You think,
Yeah.
but you don't.
I have a friend
So,
who was a police officer, and he told me that he used to look at drugs as like a drug addict versus a prescription pill, but his father passed away from a fentanyl patch. And so now he looks at all medicines the same way, whether they're prescribed or street or whatever,
it is.
because they're just as dangerous or more dangerous.
Yeah. All right,
Thank you for
Troy.
connecting
I
and
hope
doing
you
this
get
for
the
me.
message out.
You're
And if
awesome
there's anything
gentleman.
more I can do,
I appreciate you doing this.